So in this video, we're going to continue on with our product returns management system, and we're going to start by building our receiving block, which is going to be the units coming in getting received. We're going to use this video to start showing a few field parameters and some rules, and also we're going to start looking more specifically at the kind of permissions that a user might have. So let's begin by going back to the receiving block. So I'm going to create firstly I'll take off the full width and I'll make this full width instead. Let's put in serial number. So first thing I'm going to do is show you one or two rules. So I hover over and press rules, and I've already showed you a few in the past. We had the cannot be empty, which is simply it just cannot be empty. So first we'll add this one, and when I go, we'll open the front end in a different tab. You can see it's indicated here that it can't be empty by using, as you can see, the star beside the label. When I press submit, the default uh, response is you have empty or unselected fields in your form. I've shown you the must be equal and cannot be equal before. I don't think they would be relevant to a serial number because a serial number could be anything. I've also shown you the must be between two values. This one, however, could be relevant. Must be at least X number of characters. So this basically says the string that you enter has to be a certain amount of characters long. What this does is put in control in the system. So the serial number must be at least 8 characters. This will prevent the user from putting in incorrect data or something. So just say they put in serial blah 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 in a scanner and they press return. The serial number, it knows straight away there's something wrong here. So I'll do and now 8, and we can see that that's submitted fine. So I'm going to continue on and show more rules. We'll X that one out, and instead we will do max allowed duplicates. Actually, sorry, there was one I wanted to show you which I just skipped over, which was the must be exactly number of characters. This works very similar to at least number of characters. The difference is this can't go over the number of characters either. So the serial number must be 8 characters exactly. So we'll go back to this one. And if I do 7, it's going to give me an error. If I do 9, it's going to give me an error. But when I do 8, it's happy. That's that rule. We won't go with I'll be diving into some of these rules in our next block, in our next video. It's because these aren't relevant yet. We're putting in new data, and the idea of some of these rules is to get the value or check against the value in a previous block. The same with these ones. I've already shown you the populate data and populate from total. But let's look at max allowed duplicates, which is a very useful one to prevent data coming in more than once. So I'll put in max number of duplicates allowed, which is 1. We go back to the front end, and the maximum number of entries for this field is 1. So I tried to put in this one already, and it wouldn't let me. If I delete this, and we put it in, it's happy. And now we try again, and it has a problem because it only allowed 1. So that's the max allowed duplicates. There's a few other ones here which we're going to skip over, not all of them. We will be coming back to all of these, so by the time this module is finished, every rule will have been covered, but some of them just aren't relevant yet. We can go with keep data for next scan. We've shown you that in a previous video, but we'll use that for the shipment number. So I'm going to create a field here called shipment number. I'll just say inbound shipment number just so we're totally clear. And like I showed you before, I'm going to make this field an autocomplete field. We've covered autocomplete, and we're going to get the data from inbound shipment. There's no filter on it. It's just going to be get all shipments. So now we just need to add a shipment. So shipment number, press submit. We go back to receiving, and we have our first shipment, and we have a serial number. However, what I was going to show you there was that we'll go back to our keep data for next scan. So I'm putting the rule on inbound shipment number. Keep data for next scan. I just saw something else there which we'll put on it as well, which is can only be in numbers and integers. Format is not correct. So first I'll show you the keep data for next scan. We've already covered this, but there's no harm because now we can see it being applicable. I'm just going to change the serial number so that we can make sure that it's unique. Press submit, and as you can see, this one doesn't get reset. But I also said that this needs to be integers. So supposing someone typed in something here and maybe they put in a letter or something by accident, shipment number format is not correct, so it doesn't like it. So that's perfect. We keep going with the rules. So as you can see, the rules can get added up. You've as many rules as you like in one field, and they run in this order. And it's important to know that because sometimes one rule might affect something in the next rule. So a big one must be certain format, and this is when it comes to tracking serial numbers and things like that. So I'm just going to remove some of these other rules just for cleanliness. So must be certain format is you put in the string that you expect a serial number or something like that to look like. But you need effectively what would be considered a wildcard characters inside that string. So supposing you knew that every serial number you're supposed to track has this format. Let's just say SNTV. Just say that's a typical serial number, BB. And let's say you knew that all of them come in like this, except this number changes. And other than that, you know for a fact that they all come in like this, which means if someone tries to scan something that's different, it'll give you an error. So let's show you how to build this field first. So these are the changeable numbers. So this is the variable character. So this is where we set this. So I'm going to put in an ampersand sign, but this can be anything. It just has to be something that you know doesn't usually appear in the serial number. So now we have 4, 5, 6 positions in the string where this could be anything. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's just say The format of the serial number is not correct. Please try the following format. And I'll paste that in here. And I'll submit that rule and I'll go back to the front end. So we'll just pick a serial number. So this time I'll just put in a random wrong one, see what happens. The format of the rule is not correct. Please try the following format. So I'll try a slightly different one. I'll leave out the V. It still doesn't like it because it's looking for SNTV, your variable characters here, and then BB. So now I'll try one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there has to be 6 of them. And it was happy with that one. So for the rest of the fields, we will wait till we're in the rest of the rules, we'll wait until we are further into the flow of the process, because most of these are kind of related to looking up data that might be in this block from another block. The next part of this video I'm just going to start touching on is the permissions. And for us to do this, we need to set up an account and have 2 different windows open. I'll do that. I'll pause this video quickly and I'll just have the tabs open. Well, actually, the first thing I'll do is I'll create a user. So I'm just going to say typical employee. And we've done this in previous videos, but this time I'm going to be focusing on the permissions. So I'll just save this information here. Email doesn't matter in this case. I'll just give them a password. And we've talked about that before. To save the password. I won't give them any roles or permissions yet. Actually, I will just give them line operator. And I'm only doing that so that we can add that person, we can add the operator role to this module. Product returns. So we've covered this already, but what I'm going to be getting at soon is the permissions. So let's say receiving. And we'll go down to the roles. So operator. So now let's start looking at specific permissions. Actually, there was probably no need for me to do all that because I want to create a new role anyway, which is demo role. And I'll give that role to the user of typical employee. And now what we're going to start doing is playing with the permissions. So I'll just pause the video and log in as typical employee in a different window. So I'm now in Chrome and I'm logged in as a typical employee. So the first thing we're going to start looking at is some of the buttons here. Export all data. Supposing we don't want the employee to be able to export all data, only the admin can do that. This is where we begin to combine our block settings with our roles and permissions. So in this case, we're going to hide the export all data button, and we'll hide any other buttons that are there as well. So I'm going to go back here and refresh the screen as the typical employee, and you can no longer see it. I'll remove the calendar. So we have a hide calendar option here. As you can see, I'm using a block setting called block layout. I've a setting section called block layout and visibility settings. This mainly focuses on what you can see on the page or not. So now we'll go back here and refresh the screen. Now, supposing this particular operator could be allowed to export all the data, but not other operators. We're going to say, let's go back to this role, manage roles and permissions. Sorry, it was demo role. And let's put in the permission that they can see the export all data button. Can see export all data button in the block. So this is a typical permission. Permissions are basically things that override stuff that might be hidden or might be unavailable or mightn't be functionally working for people that are blocked. So let's click submit, and I'll refresh here. So even though I'm not an admin, as a typical employee, the admin has decided, well, they can see this. That's fine. Let's do another one. So as a normal operator, I can't edit. But what if, for instance, we decided, well, actually, the typical employee should be able to edit records. Let's go back here and we go to the demo role. This is incorrect. We're going to have to change this. This should say edit permissions. So anyway, can edit data inside a block. And let's submit. So now when I refresh here, as a typical employee back in the other window, I have access to these links. And that is pretty much the theme of how this works, how the permissions work. We'll just touch on one more example. So as a typical employee, when I go into manage data, I don't see anything. However, let's make some of the things available. So raw data and count reports. And now I refresh here, back in typical employee. And as you can see, stuff starts to become available. So here you can get your raw data. There's one more we can look at, going back to the admin, which is the data lookup. Can access the data lookup and edit page. Press submit. And now we go back to the typical employee page and we can see now they have lookup and edit data. So that video covers good few rules, some block settings, and also diving into more permissions. We do have a list of all the permissions and what they do in our manual, but we will be finding a reason to cover them all in in these videos. But if you do need to see them, go on to manual.blockworx.com. You can look for permissions here, and here's a full list. So it explains each one in detail. Thank you. Goodbye.